Recording in progress. I'm going to edit that first bit out. Welcome back to another episode of the Radical Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Jess Betancourt, and my guest today is Shanenn Bryant. And Shanenn is a growth and performance coach, podcast host, and speaker who helps women break free from insecurity, whether it shows up as jealousy in their relationships or self doubt in their careers. As the founder of Top Self and host of both Top Self and Lead Without Limits podcasts, she creates transformational content and coaching programs that empower women to reclaim their confidence and lead with intention. Drawing from her own experience as an adult child of an alcoholic and her journey overcoming jealousy and self worth struggles, Shanenn deeply understands how unresolved emotional patterns impact both love and relationship. She integrates this insight into her coaching, helping women identify the root of their insecurities and replace self doubt with self trust. I'll put your full bio in the show notes, Shanenn, and any links where people can find you as well so people can learn more about you. But I would like to say hello and welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this conversation. And I just want to say thanks for giving a platform for people to hear about this because so many suffer from it.
And nobody wants to talk about it.
That's the thing. It's like that taboo topic. No one wants to say, I'm looking through my partner's phone or their email, or I'm jealous of the waitress. No one wants to say that or talk about it, which is why it makes this topic really difficult to address because no one's talking about it.
Yes. And you know what? I didn't even know that no one was talking about it because no one was talking about it. But in the top three taboo topics that people generally throw out there, right? Like sex, politics, and God, or money, we could add.
Right?
Let's throw jealousy and insecurity. And I think it's up there in that tier of subjects and topics as
Mhm.
well. Heavy. Even when you were just saying that, I went off on some tangents in my mind of like, oh yeah, all those times that I've been jealous and insecure, I just kept that to myself and
Yeah.
then acted out weirdly and
Yeah.
didn't know. Didn't know, didn't have any tools for working through that. You certainly don't tell your girlfriends about how jealous and weird you are.
Right. Family members, your best friends, even eh, sometimes they don't know. And you don't have those conversations because if you ever have, and they don't experience that morbid or intense jealousy at times, they're going to go, what are you talking about? Like, no, that wouldn't bother
Wrong
me.
with
Why are you
that?
so jealous about that? Nothing's happened. It's fine. Don't be insecure. So they're trying to come from that good place, but then it puts you even more into like, oh, this is something that I am so different from everyone else that I know. I'm never going to talk about this again. And I'm just going to have to deal with it internally or within my relationship. And so then people don't seek help for it a lot of times too.
No, it just gets buried
Yeah.
and becomes more of a nuisance or a
Mhm.
problematic thing that people have to deal with on their own. So,
It's just another thing to be shameful of too, because then
right.
that shame sets in, right? Oh, I did this thing. I acted in this way. Nobody else does. It's only me. I'm only the one doing this. And that's very shameful.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy about this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wish it had come to me at an earlier place in life when I was being so weird and awkward, and didn't even really call it jealousy or insecurity because we don't
Mm,
label ourselves readily so much like that. Um,
yeah.
I feel like it's more, I don't know, for me, it was more like there's a problem with me, or like relationships just don't work for me because they won't, or I'm
Right.
cursed, or this is karmic. We make something
Mhm.
wrong with us rather than addressing, oh, I have jealousy issues. I have some deep
Yeah.
insecurity happening. Where do you think that in your expertise, where can you see that jealousy originates, and like what is the actually the positive intention of jealousy?
Yeah. So if we go back in history, I mean, jealousy is it's an important emotion to have because early on, and it's natural. Some jealousy in relationships, that's natural. It's normal. It's fine if it's this fleeting thing. Oh, I felt a little tinge of jealousy in that situation. Okay. But I'm not thinking about it for days and days and days on end, and it's not something that's happening every day. That's when we get into this morbid jealousy or this extreme jealousy that I work with people. So
Mhm.
way back when, it was important to have this emotion. This is the way that we kept, you know, humanity alive, right? I'm protecting this partner. So certainly men and women can experience jealousy differently, but women years and years and years ago, like, no, I need to protect this relationship with this man because he's the provider for me and my children and to keep this family going.
Mhm.
And so that jealousy might pop in that way, like, no, you're not taking what I have.
Like a
But
biological thing.
right, yes, of course. But those extremes aren't needed today, but sometimes we just, you know, it certainly shows up today in kind of two different buckets for people who have grown up with some type of dysfunction. Like in my case, I grew up with a father who was an alcoholic. So if it's someone who's grown up with some type of dysfunction, or potentially something has happened later on in life where maybe they were in a relationship where there was infidelity, or a series of relationships where there's infidelity. And so now they have kind of that imprint or that mark on them, and then they get maybe insecure about relationships. And so we can talk about, those two buckets and how those imprints are formed.
Mhm. Can you tell us more about how your, if you don't mind, I love
Mhm.
hearing people's personal stories, how you
Yeah.
discovered that, how did you discover that to label label jealousy
Mm,
and insecurity these ways, and how did that become helpful for you? Or was that a point where you were able to like release yourself from some sort of cycle that you
mm.
were in where you were experiencing these things, and did naming them help you, or what was that point like for you?
Yeah. Well, I was interestingly enough, years ago, I was kicked out of therapy. Kind of.
Kicked out of
Yeah,
therapy?
I know. For someone who was going for their insecurity issues, it was a rough thing, but more kind of invited not to come back. I would go every week and I would say,
AKA invited not.
yes,
Okay.
I would say, okay, this is it. I'm not going to be jealous anymore. I'm going to really feel confident and I'm just not going to let things bother me. I'm going to do my best. And I would try. But then the minute something would happen, whether there was an attractive waitress that I thought my boyfriend looked at, or there was someone with a better outfit or better hair or what, like smarter than me, whatever it was, it could be the smallest of things. And I was right back to everybody's, smarter than me, prettier than me, funnier than me, all of those things than me.
Mm-hmm.
And that jealousy and insecurity would creep back in. So I would do this over and over and over. And she finally said, you know what, Shannon, this is beyond my expertise. We're not really getting anywhere. And I think too, when they haven't experienced it, again, it's hard for people to understand. But that moment changed everything for me because on my way out, she handed me this piece of paper, this folded piece of paper. And I mean, I'm crying like, what? I'm getting kicked out of therapy. This is the most horrible thing. I'm like, too much. I'm too weird. I'm too out there. And I opened this piece of paper in my car as I'm sitting in the in the parking area, and I open this piece of paper, and at the top it says 14 characteristics of an adult child of an alcoholic. And I start going, it's called the laundry list. And I start going through, and I was like, oh my gosh, check, 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 check. That's me, that's me, that's me.
What are some of them? I'm so curious. Could you give
Mm,
some examples of?
yeah. So, I mean, they're on the surface, they may look like, oh, well, I kind of experienced that too, or okay, that's kind of me too. But when you're in this and you can go, okay, 12 of the 14 are me.
Mm,
Okay, I didn't write this list. So that must mean I'm not alone. Other
mm,
people must be experiencing this. And if there's a list, maybe there's a solution. So some
mm.
of them could be, feeling insecure around authority figures. So this showed up. big time for me as I certainly was starting my career and entering the corporate world and sitting in the boardroom and thinking once again, oh my gosh, I don't want to speak up. I'm not going to, I might say something quote unquote stupid, or how are people going to perceive me, or how are people looking at me? And everyone here is smarter than me. So
Mhm.
just some of those types of things. Also, it can be a multitude of things where it's like, not having those healthy boundaries and relationships where I want this love and connection so much. And I'm coming from this scarcity mindset place that I might um, do anything. I might tolerate any
Mm.
type of relationship just to have that love and connection.
Mm.
So, as you kind of go through these things that show up and you are resonating with the things on the paper, I started thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe there is this solution. And then just kind of going down that track of let me get really curious about these things that I'm doing and how they're showing up in my life. And when this insecurity and jealousy shows up. And so that first step for me was really getting self aware, like, what are the habits that I have, the things that I'm doing on a consistent basis, that I'm spending my energy every day doing. And that's really where I started.
Can you tell us what some of those things were, and not to like put you on the spot, but just so if other people are doing these things, they can be, because you can't see what you're so used to.
Yes.
You
Yes.
just can't see it. You're like, yeah, of course I turn on the TV and spin around 3 times and before I light my cigarette or whatever,
Mhm.
like that's just
Right,
so normal.
right. That's just yes, and that's part of it. We get into some of these insecure habits, and then they just stick with us. Also, we'll talk about this, kind of the subconscious programming that we started out with that's really making all these decisions for us. But
Mhm.
some of the things, just so somebody can maybe relate and go, oh, that's me or that's not me. Some of the things I was doing, which I was aware that I did them, what I wasn't aware of is how often I was doing them and how much time I was spending on them. And then there were some things that I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that." So, my big thing, I constantly looked at my partner on location services just to see, like, is he where he said he's supposed, like, is he where he said he is? Does the timeline work out? When we talk about his day and I would say, "Oh, how was your day? What did you do?" It wasn't because I was genuinely interested in his day. I'm trying to make sure, like, I'm connecting dots. Does everything match
Line
up?
up. Yeah, you were
Yeah,
doing detective work.
of course. I spent most of my days with an upset stomach, an anxious stomach,
Mhm.
a knot in my throat, and really feeling on edge and like I wasn't present. I couldn't be present anywhere. I wasn't present at work because I was constantly thinking about, what he was doing and who maybe he was talking to and who did he go to lunch with. And I certainly was looking at his phone, text messages and emails, all of those things.
Had this
And
given you rise for concern?
no. And that's the big thing. And this is really where we get in the push pull because I had certainly been in relationships where I stayed way too long because I was insecure. And so they did cheat on me. They did treat me poorly, but then I would have relationships with perfectly fine people who weren't doing anything, but my suspicion and this jealousy really drove the relationship, um, you know, to a negative place. Certainly, it gets worse with people you're more attached to. So this, my husband today, thankfully, he stayed through all of that because the first 6 to 8 years of our relationship, it was not good. And I really realized like it's my jealousy is really amping up in this relationship for this person who has done nothing. There's
Mm.
no evidence, there's no proof. They've done nothing, but I can't seem to get this trust for them. I can't seem to get over this jealousy and insecurity, even with no evidence.
Was it was like you were wired to be on alert or like just
Yes.
predisposed to wait for the other shoe to drop? So
Beautiful.
like just waiting for that because perhaps your nervous system recognized that as this is what's normal and safe. This is what I
Mhm.
am this is what I can live with.
Yeah. If you think about the way I grew up, so my father was an alcoholic. He was violent and chaotic. And I mean, it was just no day was ever the same. And as a young child, my parents didn't divorce till I was 12. We know that by the time we're 8, we've already experienced like 90,000 hours of human interaction.
Mm,
So I very early on started to get really hyper vigilant,
mhm,
learning the way he moved, the way he talked, how he would come in. If it was later than just off of work, I knew that there was going to be trouble. If it was earlier, okay, why is he home so early? And I remember laying in bed at night as a young child listening so intently for hours. Is he going to come home? And if he does, like, is he being loud? Because that would usually mean, oh, he's really drunk. Is he
mm.
being quiet? Did my mom wake up? And so you get really used to all of these, like the hyper vigilant and noticing things,
Yeah, they're patterns that are
these
your
patterns,
safety. His patterns equal your safety. And
or
s
not my safety,
or
right?
not
Yes.
well, or lack of,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. That was how I judged, am I going to be safe or am I not gonna be safe?
Yeah.
And so, we say these programs then, so my hypervigilance, my thinking, okay, love is sometimes scary, love is sometimes feels good, but sometimes it's scary. I can't trust love.
Mm,
All of these patterns started to form, and we know patterns form through repetition plus emotion. There are 3 ways, right? What we witness, what we hear, and what we experience. And so
mhm.
those can come at any time, but when you've got this repetition of those things and then you've got this emotion, that is hardwired now into my subconscious, and I'm gonna take that in all of my relationships. So the story I started telling myself, my parents divorced when I was 12 finally, um, and but then I didn't really have a relationship with my dad, and at 12 years old, I said, "As long as you're drinking, I don't wanna have this relationship with you. I don't wanna hear from you." And he took that to heart, chose alcohol over me, and we really didn't have a relationship until the last 3 years of his life, which was just recently.
Oh.
So and we were able to form a beautiful relationship now in my 50s, but, um, so my whole life I thought, well, if my own dad doesn't love me, I must not be worthy of love.
Mm.
So you take all this hypervigilance, love is scary, love feels good, I don't know, I can't trust it, I'm not lovable, into adult relationships, you're gonna have someone who's jealous and insecure in relationships, right?
It's a perfect recipe.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Oh my gosh. And so how did you come into this work? Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You said something in the notes I was reading that jealousy is not the problem.
Mhm. Yeah. Jealousy is just a symptom, right? It's a solution. It's there to say, hey, you have a problem to solve. You have something to deal with. You have something that keeps showing up for you. Look at it. Let's
Mhm,
address it. Because,
mhm,
like you said, we usually like, oh, I'm just going to stuff that feeling. Oh, I'm just weird. Oh, this is unsolvable because it's the way that I'm made. And I thought that forever. If you would have told me even 8 years ago that I would be helping people overcome insecurity and jealousy in their relationship, I would have said, I don't think so. I struggle with it so bad. I'm the only one also that does these kinds of things. So, that's the piece of going, wait a second. Um, this actually is a thing. And it's showing up in my life because I do need to look at it. I do need to address it. And it is something that I can learn to manage.
how
And
begin
mhm,
to do that? Sorry to cut
mhm.
you off there. I think this is I think people always want to know how, because
Yeah.
on podcasts and etc., where we go for resources, a lot of like, yeah, this is what it is, but what is some, like, maybe even one practical thing that people can do to begin to address and work through having jealousy or insecurity issues for themselves?
Yeah. One thing they could do is really start becoming self-aware. Where are my habits? What are the things that I'm doing? And they can certainly go to the podcast. I have a podcast that helps
Mhm.
women overcome this. They can go to the podcast and get these kind of step-by-step tips, but I want to give some here that people can get going with. So that self-awareness is really important. What are the habits that I'm doing? And that's like, what am I doing on a daily basis, whether I'm going and looking up their text messages, I'm looking them up on location services, I'm I ruin dinners because I get jealous because I think they looked at the waitress, whatever those things are. But then, okay, what is the fear for me? What am I most afraid of in these moments where I feel triggered? What am I most afraid of is going to happen?
Mhm.
Is it I'm afraid that they're going to leave me, abandon me? Am I, what is there for you? Because that's usually what's at the core and our subconscious programming. So I had these core wounds of I'm going to be abandoned, I'm unloved, I'm unworthy. Like, what are those? Because when we start comparing, so for some people, it might be, I feel like I'm not as good as, I'm not good enough for them to stay.
Mhm.
So we've got to start getting down to those core wounds because those are the programs that are in your subconscious. So that's step number one. And then there are ways that we can reprogram. So if you remember, I said these programs got in there by repetition plus emotion. So repetition plus emotion programs life's commotion. That's how we get
I love it.
programmed in. Okay. We can unprogram them. And there is a great start to do this. And I learned this technique through the personal development school, and it's called auto suggestion or reprogramming. So
Mhm.
you can do 21 days. So if I said, when I go through these um, situations where I'm triggered and I'm like, okay, what am I most afraid of? And I come up with maybe a few. I'm afraid they're going to leave me. So this fear of abandonment. I feel like I'm not good enough, whatever those are, then you can take the opposite. So I'm not good enough. The opposite is I am good enough. You come up with 10 to 15 pieces of evidence where you are good enough. And then you go on this 21-day cycle because we need the repetition, remember?
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
we need the emotion. So it needs to be really specific, a situation where you were good enough that you can anchor into. Like I remember where I was. I remember who I was helping. I remember, the situation because you need that emotion. And you can start with that 21 days of just every day going through. I'm reading the 10 to 15 pieces of evidence of I am good enough. And that's a good place to start. Because what we have to do is get that reprogramming. We can say all day long, and that was my problem and why I got kicked out of therapy because I was trying to change things and make decisions from my conscious mind. Like
Mhm.
consciously, I was saying, I know I don't have reason to feel this way. I'm going to be secure next time. I'm not going to let it bother me. That's all from my conscious, but 95% of my thoughts, emotions, and decisions come from my subconscious, that programming. So as long as deep down I still feel like I'm not good enough, that's going to show up and I'm just going to fight this.
Mhm.
And that's why people a lot of times go, I've tried and I just can't get better. I've
Mhm.
tried and I can't manage it. And I think that's an important aspect to say because you're trying it from conscious mind
Mhm.
and just like I'm gonna um outdo this. You can't uh, you know uh, out outwill or overpower your subconscious mind.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
think about this like putting it in a GPS. Your subconscious programs, that's the directions that are unfortunately entered in your GPS. So if we think about that in real life terms, okay, I've entered the directions where I'm going. That's my subconscious pattern. Oh, I forgot I need to stop and get gas. So we might pull off, but guess what happens when we get back in? It puts us right back on track.
Mhm.
On but in this case, in those patterns that we've created, those subconscious programming, it's going to take you right back there.
They're so strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're so strong. And I mean, I 100% would concur that this is the truth of how change really happens. It happens at this deeper level.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just some icing on a turd, or
Yeah.
whatever we want to say, whatever analogy we want to use.
Right.
The turd needs to surface and it needs to be acknowledged. I'll call it a turd gently. And please, anyone, I hope you're not offended by that terminology, but like this yucky stuff that's in us.
Yeah.
Like we all have
Mhm.
this yucky stuff that we don't want people to see, that we're ashamed of, that we push it down, whether we call it jealousy or insecurity or our addictive behaviors or our self worth is crap. It's like we want to hide it. So we
Right.
squash it, we put some nicety on top of it, and then
Mhm.
we hope that we can manage and that we hope that we can solve whatever it is that we truly deeply desire to experience in, in a professional life or in a romantic way or in a financial
Yeah.
way or whatever it is that we really really want, and we try and try and try, and then it doesn't work, and then it's just like, well, maybe just not this lifetime. But it's really
Yes.
that just that deeper part needs to surface or it needs to be seen. It needs to get some air. It needs to be acknowledged. I've
Mhm.
had a few clients as I'm a hypnotherapist who have come to me for insecurity issues, and they are like, I've never told this to anyone. I
Mhm.
never tell anybody that when my boyfriend's at a party and he says hi to his friend that like I'm sweating and that
Mhm.
like it's really like something that I can't control and it makes me
Yeah.
feel awful and I want to marry him and have his baby, and like there's no way that I could do this for the next few decades of my life. Like what is this?
Yeah.
And we do deep subconscious unraveling, which is one way route that you described is definitely one way to
Yeah.
do it. But it has to be this like revealing of the yuck factor that's pushed down into the
Mhm.
body by the subconscious, as the body and the subconscious are the same governing entity, right? It's the same.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
you feel in your body is what is that's the subconscious beliefs being squashed. It's like that feeling in your stomach, that fist in your throat. What were you never
Mhm.
allowed to say? What emotions were you not safe to have if you grew up in a volatile environment, for example, as I
Right.
do in some ways, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
your safety, your survival is what will come first, right? You have to
Mhm.
survive, and if survival means that you need this person to stay with you, like when we're young, we definitely need a parental figure, even
Yes.
if they're not a safe person. So you accept
Right.
it, you walk on eggshells, you learn how to people please, to read the room, but it creates all of this like raw nervousness in the body that doesn't then just go away. It's like the body's living in the past over and
Mhm.
over and reenacting this, expecting it. So how did you come to, it seems like when I'm hearing you speak, it's like you're on the other side of things, but do you feel like
Mhm.
it's a continual path for you, a journey that you're still on, or do you feel like you're on the other side of things?
Yeah, and this is something that I'm so glad that you asked this question because I am so upfront about it of I'm never going to tell people you're not going to feel jealous again. That would just be one irresponsible and two most likely not true.
Mm,
Are there some that can like okay, got it. I've, fixed this problem or fixed this thing that keeps showing up for me and now I'm good? Sure. For the majority where this has been a programmed pattern in us since childhood, or we had something really traumatic happen where this is now showing up, it's probably something that we will manage,
mm,
right? So, does it show up for me today? Sometimes, yes. It takes more.
mm,
It takes a bigger trigger. It takes me not following some things and keeping myself doing, the important things, the healthy things that I need to be doing in my life. So that it's just a reminder, like I've got to keep on this healthy track too, and that feels really good, and that keeps me more grounded, and my brain is clear to actually be rational in these situations. my entire life is different. I remember when it was really, really bad, saying to myself, if I haven't felt like since I have been alive, I don't remember being able to go to bed and just lay my head down on the pillow and go to sleep and be like calm and not anxious. I remember the day that I thought, I can't remember ever being able to do that when I was a kid in my adult life. And now, guess what I do? So easily every day I go and I lay down and I go to sleep. I mean, sure, there might be, business things or, something that's happening where I'm, thinking through, but it is nothing. The experience is completely different. And so that is how your life can change when you start to understand what's really going on and make the changes that need
Mm,
to be made.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Ah, amazing, amazing. I'm so grateful to have this conversation with you, Shannon. Where can people find you?
Yeah. If they are interested, so a lot of that what I talk about is the attachment styles. So I am certified in integrated attachment theory. People can go to topself.com and take the assessment to see where you fall. There's a secure attachment and 3 insecure attachment styles. That's really going to be a good starting place. You'll get information of, okay, this is the attachment style. This is how I show up in my relationships and at work and these types of things because of this potentially insecure attachment style. So I would love for people to go there. And that's a great starting place for them to just get some more information on how this is showing up.
Awesome. I'll put that link in the show notes as well. And I love that name.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So good. Awesome. Do you have anything coming up, any events or any programs or courses or things that people can jump into?
Yeah. So we always, about every 8 weeks, we run Behind Your Jealous Mind boot camp. So this is a group boot camp. It is actually a lot of fun. And what's interesting about this is we talked very early on about, oh, this is the thing that's embarrassing. I don't want to talk to anybody, or I have talked to family and friends and they just don't get it. This is the place where everybody in the group is exactly, the same thing. They're feeling the same way. They are experiencing the same thing. So it's finally that place that you can open up. And I see it happen all the time where people, it's a 6-week program. And the first week, maybe even two, the people are like, oh, I don't want to talk. I kind of don't want to be seen. And then when they realize, like, oh, I can say this and I'm feeling supported and people understand and people get it. And oh, this is making sense now. I do that same thing. And this makes sense because this is what happened with me. It is a game changer just to have the place where you can talk with other people who get it, who are not judgmental, and who really see you. And I think that is so important. So the boot camp, it's, dates are on the website and you can see that.
I was going to say, and you won't be kicked out of there.
That's right. We don't kick
You
people
kick
out
people out for
of the boot
exposing
camp.
their insecurity and
That's
jealousy.
right. I love it. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
so true. Like visibility is such a tonic. It's
Hmm.
like the strongest initial medicine that one can take to break the spell of whatever. I felt like when was in my wine addiction and I was in the closet about it, I felt like I was like under a spell. Like I was under this
Mm,
cursed spell. It was only happening to me. I couldn't say it the way I wanted to say it because like I wasn't visibly an alcoholic. Like I wasn't an alcoholic, but
right.
I drank by myself all the time. Like I was so closeted. And then when I was like, I just told one person and I gently said, I think I drink too much. And I'd never said that to myself or anything. I was like, oh
Right.
my God, I just felt like I felt so much better in that moment. And like I hadn't even begun to do what I did. But it's
Yes.
when we say these things in a trusted environment, a safe environment where other people totally get it, right? They're there
Hmm.
with the exact same issue. And it's like breaking the spell by taking the curse away with words like spelling, right? Like the
Yeah.
English language is like spell casting at its origin. So it does
Right.
feel like words coming out of your mouth are so liberating when they are speaking the truth of the thing that you're holding on to and suppressing.
I am so glad you said that, and I love that analogy of, like, I feel like I'm under the spell because that is exactly what it feels like, I'm just being taken for this ride, and I have no idea what to do about it, but you are so right. I have watched so many times, and you can see that, like, that release of people when they start talking about it, and almost always the tears come, and that is all a sign of, like, I've been holding this inside for so long, and now here's the space where I can let it go. Even just releasing a little bit of, that off, you can see it in people. It's so
Mhm.
amazing to
Mhm.
see right in front of you, even just that little transformation of like, oh my gosh, I've let a little bit of this out.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Like the body changes,
Yes.
posture changes. People's
Hmm.
faces look younger. They've let go of some energetic weight. It takes a lot of effort to hold these types of taboo secrecy
Yeah.
lifestyles.
Yeah. It sure
Yeah.
does.
Mhm. Mhm.
So again, thank you for giving a space for people to hear this and to know that they're not alone. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're so not alone. I wish I had this in my 20s.
Right? Yeah.
I probably have a different husband though, so I'm glad that I have my husband. But I'm wondering, like, something like this program would be so helpful for women in their 20s or anyone in their
Hmm.
20s, right? We're so insecure at that time, and like we want so badly. A lot of us, especially as Americans, I think, are coming out of homes in our early 20s, if not our late teen time, and we are damaged. Like we are,
Yeah.
most of us are. Look, grateful and lucky for you if you came from a really good foundation. But a lot of us are struggling with this stuff, and then we're like launched, and it's really premature. And yet we feel like we need to do all these adult things, like find proper romantic relationships,
Yeah.
get into careers. Like I live in Spain, and the kids here, the young adults don't really do that until their mid late 20s. And I think that, like,
Wow.
in American society and culture, this type of assistance in working through
Mm.
earlier on, like, it really isn't you. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you. You're completely lovable. You have some psychological and deep psyche imprinting, wounding
Hmm.
even, that needs tending before you should even venture for a relationship. Like,
Right.
make it more. I would love to see it more normalized, to make these types of containers more normal as a rite of passage before we're taught to, like, now go find a partner, go shop for
Right.
that wedding ring, like, let's plan for that. Like, well, we're not ready for that. And me and
Yeah.
my friends joke, when you have a baby shower, you should give the parents to be some therapy, or like some coaching, parenting coaching packages, and not a
Yes.
bunch of big plastic stuff. Like, we're not.
Yeah. Go learn about you and how you're
Oh,
wired,
oh.
because that does play a big part of it. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because what we tend to do is exactly what I did is I went out because I had this deep-rooted belief about myself that I wasn't worthy of love, I'm not good enough, all of the negative things. I sought partners that kept me in that comfort zone because that's what I knew. Even though I can look at that and go, that's a unhealthy thing, I sought out partners who are going to make sure that I feel like I'm unworthy, I'm not lovable, all
Mhm,
of the things.
mhm,
And then we get attracted. And then what happens? Damage happens in that relationship that just further goes, see, you're not worth it. See,
mhm.
you weren't worth them sticking around. You aren't lovable. You aren't all of these things. And it just reinforces it.
Yeah.
100% agree with you. Let's understand us and our patterns and our programming first, and then we go seek the relationship.
Then you make that big life decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Shannon. It's been such a pleasure. And I'm gonna go crawl around on your website as well. and share it with people. And thank you so much for being here. And I think you should come back in a few months and we can have the other half of the conversation, which is we didn't get to because we kind of focused on intimate and romantic relationships. But you also coach on insecurity in career path. Am I correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
okay. We gotta have we're
And
gonna
we
have a
can
whole
talk about
episode
all the
for that.
attachment styles and how they show up at work. So, yes, I'd love to come back and talk about that as well.
Okay, cool. We're gonna have a part two, y'all. Um, Thank you, Shanenn. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you everyone for being here. Please go check out Shanenn Bryant and her links are in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this podcast, we would really appreciate if you would leave us a review with all of the stars and the wonderful things that you have to say. And share it with your friends. And we'll be back with you again next week.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.